Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. It's a late Boy Scout with a Bulgarian Makarov. This was sent to me by J&G Sales for review. In this video today, we're going to talk about the history of the Makarov just a little bit, as well as talk about my experience with this gun. Stick around. And that is a table full of Cold War goodness right there, don't you think? And it's appropriate, I think, that the Makarov, or Makarov, however you want to pronounce it, is fine with me. I'm just going to go with Makarov for this review, deal with it. It's appropriate that it's flanked by these two guns, the P83 Vanad and also the Tokarev TTC from Romania, because these two guns definitely share a pedigree with the Makarov, and we'll talk about why. During the course of this review, let's take those two players off the table, or at least off the stage for the moment, and zoom in on this beauty right here, which, as you can see, is unloaded and ready to talk about. So, the Bulgarian Makarov was once again sent to me by J&G Sales for review, and thanks to them. Please do check out their website at jgsales.com. Visit them if you're ever in Prescott, Arizona. The Makarov here is a very attractive gun. Let's start there. Aesthetics. I haven't seen a lot of other guns that are as good looking as Makarovs. Let's talk about the color scheme first off, because that's what's kind of jumping out at me. A beautiful blued slide and frame, as well as this, what I believe is Bakelite, or Bakelite, or however you want to say that. A lot of things to get screwed up on pronunciation-wise in this review. But wraparound grip there, as you can see, kind of covers the back as well as the sides here. And then also these cool accents on the safety / decocker as well as on the hammer. All matching this. Isn't that gorgeous? Freaking love that. It's really good looking. So aesthetically, I think these Cold War pistols, and particularly this Russian design, is a really, really good looking pistol. And let's talk a little bit about design and sort of the history of this gun. So as I understand it, it was adopted by the Soviet Union in 1951. Nikolai Makarov, or Makarov again, however you care to say it, he took up the idea of designing a new pistol as they had a need for a new one. And the reason they had a need for it was they all decided, the Russian military decided that this guy right here, the TT-33, this is the TTC, but the TT-33, which this is based off of, they decided was going to be obsolete. They needed to move on to something else. And also the aging Russian Nagant revolver, which they wanted to move away from as well. So instead of building the pistol around the 7.62x25 cartridge that this one already was built on, they decided to go with something completely different. And what they went with was basically, it's the Walther Ultra design, roughly the same design as that. And it takes down in a very similar way to the Walther PP or PPK or any of those types of guns. However, instead of going with the 380 as the cartridge to build this gun around, they went with the 9x18, which was pretty much the most powerful round that this gun could handle as far as the straight blowback design. We might as well go into some of the construction, jump into the takedown and all that stuff. So we lock this back. You can see that it's empty, so we're all good in that regard. You pull this trigger guard down like so. You kind of shift it over and lock it on like that. Then you pull the slide back a little further and then up and over, and it comes right off the frame just like that. Take it down for cleaning and maintenance and so forth. By the way, there's roughly 27 parts is what I believe is how many parts there are in this gun, which is extremely cool because that's a very, very simplified design, and that's part of what made this the gun that the Russian military chose. The extremely simple design was, a big benefit from a military standpoint, in that you can you'll have a much easier time from an armory standpoint, and sort of fixing and repairing guns as they come in for repair. It's worth noting that the German Luftwaffe did not use this design, determining that it was not accurate enough for them. The Russians obviously found it to be plenty accurate for their needs. It's also worth noting that the 9x18 cartridge, which this gun is built for and built around, differs from 9mm by 19, not just in length. It sounds like it does, but they actually are completely incompatible. The reason so is Russians measure the 9mm length or width a little differently than we do. The way we would do it is we would measure the lands from one side of the barrel around to the other side of the barrel. Again, those lands. What the Russians do is they measure out to the grooves. Okay, so their bullet is actually fatter than ours is. And what that means is you cannot shoot a 9x18 through a 9mm handgun. You're going to have some big issues. Now, as I understand it, the Makarov has been replaced in the Russian military. However, it still has a home in a lot of holsters, both in Russia and in a lot of other countries. So this thing is by no means obsolete. Let's talk about some of the practical aspects of the gun, shooting it, carrying it, etc. Right here, let's look at the sights. You see that there is a notch blade at the back and a blade there at the front. Very typical, very simple. And we also see texturing along the top of the slide, which allows for you to pick up that sights quite a bit easier because there's no reflection sort of distracting you and so forth. The hammer feels great. It's very easy to operate and to release, and again, it looks really, really pretty. I didn't point out that the extractor right here is also offset in the same way to pick up the color and texture of that bakelite, which is just aesthetically, once again, very cool. Some serrations right here to help you with your racking the slide, etc. And of course, we have a slide catch right there, which operates very well. And of course, press it down to release. When I got this gun from J&G Sales, it came with 2 magazines and it also came with this holster right here. It feels like it's made out of leather. It could be some kind of a pleather, but it feels fairly leathery. And looking at sort of how it works, we've got this pocket right here for a magazine. I will say that you got to jam that magazine in there pretty hard in order to get it to fit. And you can see how it's supposed to go like that. But you got to jam them in pretty hard, especially considering this little notch right here that these magazines have on them. And so that one fits in like so. And then your Mac itself just slips in like this. There's this big strip you can see right here that kind of goes down and under. If we can see it, I'm not sure if we'll be able to. There it is. Yep. And then what that does is it kind of cradles the trigger guard so that when you place it down inside like so, you press it all the way down, if I can get it there, all the way down like that. This kind of flaps back or whatever. You bring this forward and hook it. When you're bringing your gun out, what you would do is you would actually tug on that to bring your gun up and then make it accessible to you. In reality, it's quite slow to operate. I don't particularly care for it. It's not like the holster that came with my TTC Tokarev, which is fantastic. The gun just kind of slips into it really easily. Looking at that one again, drops in very easily, and you can actually get a grip on it as you're pulling it out. So I prefer that holster for sure. However, you can tell that there's a little bit of a pedigree and a little bit of a relationship between those two. They decided this worked well for them. They said, let's try something like that for the Makarov as well. And you can kind of tell that that's kind of how that came about. Talking about the trigger and the trigger guard, the trigger has got a fairly easy and simple break for that single action mode. Then when you put it in double action mode, It is long, and it is slow, and it is hard. And then we can talk about the reset on that, which comes to right about there. And there's my reset, and a little bit more take up before you have your brake again. So that's just a little bit of a sense of how that trigger operates and how it feels. I will also say that this trigger guard is very sharp around the edges. And if you were to spend some time modifying this Bulgarian Makarov, what I would suggest you do, or what I'm probably going to do myself, is just kind of take some fine grit sandpaper to all the sharp edges, and there are quite a few of them on this gun. So is that a huge downside? No, not really for the price. It's not a bad price for this gun, $300 or less. So for what you're getting, I think it's pretty awesome. It is a really cool piece of Cold War history and design, not necessarily built during the Cold War, this one in particular. However, the idea that it's a design that came from 1951 and that had been with the Russians and throughout all of the Soviet Union for all those years, that is a huge, huge selling point. And if nothing else, that right there is a reason to pick up a Makarov. I told you I'd bring this guy in as well, the P83 Vanad. This is that Polish gun, which is not all that much based on the Makarov. It kind of is, but it's really just kind of a clunky, uglier brother of it. You can see that the hammer is a lot uglier. It's a lot more of a spur to it. I actually had to file mine down or polish it a little bit because it was giving me, you can still see kind of a redness right there where it had dug into my hand while I was shooting it. So yeah, I mean, it's not as comfortable to shoot. And I'll also say that the Makarov is not the most comfortable gun to shoot. It's the recoil is pleasant, don't get me wrong. It feels great to shoot. But again, with the sharp edges, with that safety that's way down here, that did tend to scrape my thumb right around here, my thumb knuckle. So once again, the Vanad does sort of share some of the pedigree, but it's built quite different. It is not a Makarov, so to speak. It does shoot the 9x18, but that's about where the similarities end. What would you use this gun for on a daily basis, or how would you incorporate it into your life? As for me, this is a collector piece, or it's also possibly a kit gun. I found out that this actually fires the Hornady Critical Defense 9x18 rounds very reliably, and that's a huge, huge selling point, seeing as the P83 does not feed those at all. So I was very disappointed to see that about the P83, but knowing that this Bulgarian Makarov shoots it just fine, now it's actually a good self-defense handgun. It's heavy for self-defense, or for concealed carry, I should say. What are some other concealed carry options? Some very good concealed carry options. Well, this one right here is excellent. The Smith & Wesson Shield is lighter and also carries the 9mm cartridge rather than the 9x18. So it's powered a little better, shoots a little better in my experience. I like the trigger better. I like virtually everything about this better than that, except for maybe aesthetics. If this were as lightweight and shot the 9mm by 19, yeah, I'd definitely be interested in carrying this one. This one, however, the shield is designed from the ground up to be a concealed carry gun, and it performs that role very, very well. So that's definitely a better option from today's standards. Another one, and this gun is hot, not going to clear it, Ruger LCP. You know, it's underpowered compared to this, but not by a huge amount. So this gun right here is extremely light, extremely easy to carry. You're going to be able to have this thing with you anywhere you go. And, you know, basically what it comes down to is modern standards are totally different from classical standards. And if you're going to carry a 9mm by 9x18 Makarov as your concealed carry gun, my question to you is why? Why? When there are so many more effective, lighter, simpler, and more modern guns out there. It's kind of like driving a very, very old car. I guess a lot of you guys do it, right? You drive these super old cars because you love the car. but man, you're missing out on some of those cool modern features. And yeah, you get that with the new stuff. You don't get that with the old stuff. I guess with the old stuff, what you get is the character, is the aesthetics, and the cool factor. And yeah, I can't deny it. That is definitely a big selling point. Thanks once again to J&G Sales for sending this Bulgarian Makarov my way for review. They still do have plenty of them, so go visit their store online, check them out, have one sent to your local FFL if you so desire. I'm definitely going to keep this one in my collection. It's a very cool gun. It may end up in some kind of a kit because once again, it's reliable and I'm definitely happy with its performance. Well, once again, thanks to all of you guys for watching this video. I'm the Late Boy Scout. We'll see you on the next one.
I actually showed this gun to you in my bug out bag breakdown when I talked about the VanQuest Falconer 27 pack. This gun is part of that pack. It's going right back into it after this review.